Namaskar. My name is Dr. Nitish Bhatia. I'm here for Associate Professor, Khalsa College of Pharmacy, Amritsar. My topic for today is clinical trials and clinical trial study team. Well, we have seen in the COVID era and the post-COVID era also that new medicaments and development of new medicaments has become a dire necessity. Students studying pharmacy, they often become a part of clinical trial study team. So let us talk about clinical trials today. So clinical trials are the trials which are done for marketing authorization of any new medicament or for any new use of an existing medicament or a surgical device. So in order for a medicament to be approved by the licensing authorities, the medicament should undergo clinical trials. So clinical trials are done in various phases. Phase 1 involves evaluation of the efficacy and pharmacokinetic parameters of the new medicament, the new investigational drug. In the second phase of the clinical trials, the data about efficacy of the drug is evaluated on a small number of patient groups. From here, the medicament moves to the third phase of the clinical trials or phase 3 clinical trials. These are multi-institutional clinical trials which are done on a large number of patient groups in various institutions in a country or in fact in various institutions all over the world. After completion of the phase 3 of the clinical trials and successful approval, the drug can now be selectively marketed in the patient groups. So once the drug is being marketed and it is being utilized by the patient groups, then phase 4 of the clinical trials start, which are also known as post-marketing surveillance. In the phase 4 of clinical trials or the post-marketing surveillance, ADR data, that is the adverse drug reaction data, is reported. Now let us come on to the second part, that is what is clinical trial study team. It is very important for young students and specifically young pharmacy and medical graduates today, because India is becoming the hub of clinical trials. Many multinational companies, many companies from abroad also, they are outsourcing their clinical research in India. And Indian pharmacy and medical students from different fields are becoming part of the clinical trial study team at various capacities. So let us talk about the clinical trial study team. The foremost figure in a clinical trial study team is the principal investigator. So designing and running a clinical trial requires specific skill sets of different types of experts. The person who's leading all those experts is the principal investigator. The main aim of the principal investigator is to supervise all the aspects of clinical trial. The principal investigator develops the concept of the trial. The principal investigator writes the protocol of which is to be approved by the institutional review board. After the designing of the protocol, the principal investigator submits the protocol for review by the institutional review board. Institutional review board is also comprised of many medical, pharmacy and other types of professionals. They scrutinize all the aspects of the protocol and if found suitable, they give its approval. Once a protocol for a clinical trial is approved, then the work of the principal investigator is to recruit various types of patients for the clinical trials. The type of the patient, the inclusion and exclusion criteria, like what type of patient will be included and what a patient of what conditions will not be included or excluded, is the sole responsibility of the principal investigator. After the recruitment of the subjects, the informed consent form is signed by all the subjects, all the patients which are enrolled in the clinical trials. So before they sign the informed consent form, they are informed about the protocol. Any question which is in their mind is answered by the principal investigator. The question related to what type of medicament will be given to them, what type of research it would be. And they are also told that this clinical trial is a research procedure. It is not a therapy. And if they want to, if they wish to, they can move out of this clinical trial at any time. Nonetheless, if anything bad happens to them, if any medical emergency arises, they will be treated with the current therapy free of charge. And in case of their morbidity or mortality, in case of their death or severe injury, they will be compensated also. After this process, by their own free will, the patients sign the informed consent form and become a part of the clinical trial. It is the duty of the principal investigator to manage all the process of informed consent. Then, after informed consent forms are signed and patients are recruited, actual clinical trial work starts. The principal investigator supervises the data collection, data analysis, and data interpretation. Once the data is interpreted, now with data, I am talking about the data of the clinical trial, the results of the clinical trial. Then that data is presented to the Institutional Review Board and other federal agencies, other agencies of the government. In India, the agency which controls the clinical trial is CDSCO. Then the second work is of the sub-investigator. Sub-investigator is a person which works under the principal investigator and is being directly supervised by the principal investigator for research purposes. The work of a sub-investigator or a clinical research associate. Most of the fresh pharmacy graduates and postgraduates, fresh medical graduates and postgraduates, they join the clinical research team as a clinical research coordinator. Their work is to work under the principal investigator and conduct the clinical trials, collect the data, and submit that data to the data manager. Now I must talk about the work of nursing professionals over here also. Some of the fresh nursing graduates, they also join the clinical research team as a research nurse or research nurse coordinator. The research nurse manages and collects the data throughout the course of the clinical trial, educates the staff, educates the patient, refers to their healthcare problems, communicates with the principal investigator regarding any adverse effect which is being noted or any other data related problem. The work of research nurse also includes assisting the principal investigator, assisting the sub-investigator in monitoring of the study, monitoring of the clinical trials, to ensure quality audits which are conducted at least once in a year, but the quality audits could be more. And the final work is the data management and data analysis, helping in the data management and data analysis. Now, talking about data management and data analysis, there is a specialized person for that who has background in drug regulatory affairs. Most of the pharmacy graduates who are interested in drug regulatory affairs or pass their specialization or master's degree in drug regulatory affairs, they join as data managers in a clinical trial team. Data manager manages the collection of data from the clinical trial. Throughout the course of the clinical trial, much of the data is being generated and is allocated to various data managers. So this person, the data manager, enters the data into computer systems, works with the principal investigator and the research nurse to identify what type of data will be tracked, provides data to the monitoring agencies. Now I must emphasize over here that during the course of conduct of the clinical trial, various monitoring agencies, various audits are performed. And data manager has to provide data to all those auditing agencies and audits. Now, the final work of the data manager is to prepare a summary, and that can be interim summary or final summary of all the research work that has to be done in a clinical trial. Now coming on to the staff physician or staff nurse. Fresh medical graduates, fresh nursing graduates, fresh pharmacy graduates, They're also employed as staff physicians, staff pharmacists, and staff nurses. They help to take care of the patient during the course of the clinical trial. A patient may suffer from a number of adverse drug reactions which are reported during the clinical trial. So usually the patient gives the information about their adverse drug reactions to the staff physician or staff pharmacist. These people, they treat the patients according to the clinical trial protocol, report to the higher officials, to the principal investigator, in case there is a life-threatening adverse drug reaction being presented over there. They assess the records, they assess and record how a patient is responding to a therapy and side effects, if any, are being produced. Now, apart from staff nurse, apart from clinical pharmacist, clinical physician, the physician, research physician, other key personnel are also included in the clinical trial study team. They are the clinical data scientist. The clinical data scientist works behind the scenes, allocates all the the medicament into various groups, blinding, unblinding. This is all done by the clinical data scientists, so that the patient who is getting a drug during the clinical trial gets unbiased treatment. The unblinding of the medication history is done when, if there is any untoward side effect produced. Nowadays, clinical research has become a hotspot area in India. It also serves as a huge employment avenue for fresh pharmacy graduates as well as the experienced ones. The area of clinical research requires professional ethics, unbiased attitude, and an experience in conducting the clinical trials. So at Khalsa College of Pharmacy, we train these students, fresh pharmacy students, to become a part of the clinical research team. As a part of the curriculum of master's degree in pharmacy also, students are told about, they are informed about the clinical research, they are informed about their operations in clinical research, so that when they pass out from the college, they can easily become a part of the clinical research team. I am happy to tell over here that many students, many postgraduates of Khalsa College of Pharmacy have already joined various clinical research organizations as clinical research executives and data managers. Thank you very much. This is Dr. Nitish Bhatia.